Okay, good morning, everybody. Um, my name is Allison Pryor, and today we are going to be talking about Evergreen Reports. So this is a introduction to the Evergreen Reporter, and I know just based on some of the names here, in working with a couple of you, I know that some of you might be a little familiar with reports, and some of you might be completely new to the Evergreen Reporter. And my biggest piece of advice to everyone when it comes to the Evergreen Reporter is don't get scared by it. It can be intimidating if you're not used to looking at it because there's a lot of places to click around in it. And sometimes we often have to recreate the wheel and we have to try and try again. And so it can be a little overwhelming and it can be a little can be timely to do it. But today is all about getting everyone here familiar with the reporter and knowing where to look and find templates that will help you get the data and information you need in your day to day. So I am recording today. So this recording will be shared with everyone that was registered. I will also be sharing some handouts with you guys in the follow-up email and then showing you guys where to look for additional help. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Doot. That is this. Share. Okay. All right. Can everyone see my screen? Thank you, Carolyn. Okay. All right. So getting started with Evergreen Reports. The Evergreen Reporter, what is it? It's a powerful tool that allows staff to run reports to collect all sorts of data from the ILS. So we can use this to gather statistics for circulation, holds, patrons, or figuring out what kind of item maintenance we need to do. We can access the Evergreen Reporter. Oh gosh, is Evergreen gonna? There we go. Sometimes I was hoping it wouldn't do that. We can access the Evergreen Reporter from two places in the home screen. So one from our admin dropdown, we have reports. And then from our daily maintenance quick menu, we have a link to reports as well. Simple reports. If you noticed in your admin dropdown right underneath reports, there is an option for simple reports. We're not focusing on simple reports today because despite its name, if you're not comfortable with the reporter itself, there's nothing simple about simple reports. So this is actually kind of really geared towards people that are familiar with running reports and are already comfortable with it. So we're going to skip that today. I'm just going to be pausing to look at my notes. So when you go into your reports or the Evergreen Reporter, you're going to see two sections on your screen. You're going to see the My Folder section and you're going to see the Shared Folder section. And there's three components in each. You have templates, you have reports, and you have outputs. Your templates are going to tell Evergreen what fields to offer as filters in the type of report you're running. The report is going to tell Evergreen what values to run those filters on. And then the output is everything all together. And if none of that really kind of makes sense or it's going over your head, that's fine because typically you need to see it in order to understand it. Next to your template reports and output names, you have these little drop-down carrots and you want to open them up. If you're brand new, these are going to be empty. But the idea is we're going to create subfolders for all of these categories because we need to organize the types of reports that we're going to be running. A big piece of advice is to take the time and think about the types of information you're going to be collecting and get organized because you're going to need to know where to look for these things after the fact. So as you can see on my screen, I have quite a few subfolders. Some of you may only need one or two, depending on what you're running reports for. And I have them titled by typical Evergreen categories. So for me, I have bills, circulation, collection development, items, and patrons. Um, some of you may only be working with circulation. Some of you may only be working with items or items maintenance or collection management. It's okay to only have one subfolder, but you do need to have a dedicated folder name for these things. If you are brand new and you don't have anything saved yet, how you're going to create those subfolders is you're going to click on the name itself. So you're going to click on templates. You can see it highlighted when I hover my mouse over it. When you click on it, you're going to see this button, Add Top Level Template Folder. And so this is how you're going to name it. So I'm going to call this training circulation. And I'm going to click confirm. And when I open that up, I can see it now down at the bottom. But I have to have a corresponding or a matching subfolder for my reports and my output. So if I open up my reports, you can see that I have matching subfolders for circulation, and I need to do the same for outputs. So again, I'm going to click on the reports header, add top level reporter, and it already has the name of the last subfolder I created in there. So I just have to click confirm. So Evergreen kind of streamlines that process for you a little bit. That's how we create subfolders. So in your My Folder section, you'll always be able to go back and refer to these, but sometimes we need to borrow to get started. And that's where the shared folders section comes in at the bottom of your screen. Whenever you are going to start, you want to start with a template because the template is your foundation. It's got all of the bits and pieces that are going to grow your report from. Templates available to you and shared. If you open this up in your workstation, you're going to see quite a few options here. Where you're going to want to go when you get started is the Evergreen Reports. If you open up this caret, you're going to see all of the available categories that you can copy templates from in Evergreen Reports. So for example, I created a subfolder for circulation. So I'm going to click on this name here, circulation, and I'm going to see what available templates there are for me to borrow. And I will say, this is a little annoying in my own opinion, my personal opinion. It defaults to 10 rows. You can adjust this display, but it's not sticky. And that's the part that annoys me the most. So I'm just going to adjust it to 25. And then I'm going to scroll down and there's only 7 circulation templates here to copy from to begin with. Now, sometimes recording is sometimes we're going to want specific information. Sometimes we're going to be asked to get circulation counts for a specific shelving location for the month of May in the year 2024. And that is completely doable. But I think it's easier to take a look and see what's already available in the Evergreen Reports templates, and then we can customize it to what we need specifically. So when you're looking at available templates to borrow or clone, you're going to take a look at the name, and then you're going to take a look at the description, because every description is going to give you an idea of what this report will do if the name doesn't spell it out for you. So can someone give me an example of a type of circulation related report that they've been asked to run recently? Go ahead and unmute yourselves and call out. or put it in chat. Okay, it's not circulation related. What is a report that someone's asked you to run recently?
I haven't been necessarily asked to run it, but so this is actually is a circulation one. Sorry, it took me a moment to think of, but like I want to know what the highest circulating books are in my collection. I'm a YA librarian, so I want to know which books are circulating the most.
Okay, thank you. So we have, we want to find the top circling books in our collection. So at Yorktown, would you be, when you're doing YA stuff, so do you have designated YA shelving locations?
Yes. Yep. We have a YA
Okay.
fiction section and then a
Okay.
YA graphic novel.
Okay. I ask that because if you look at the available templates here, you have circulation count by circ modifier. Circ modifier is typically the format of the item, but it also controls the circulation period for things. So this may not be as helpful if you just wanted to find YA materials. Our second option is circulation count by shelving location. So this kind of seems a little bit more on the nose for what we're looking for here. Before we move forward, I just kind of want to show you what else is available to you in the circulation templates. We can get a count of circulations by patron profile and month. So if you want to see how many, what the counts for adult profiles versus YA teen profiles versus juvenile profiles. In-house use count. So some of you may not be familiar with what in-house use is, but in your circulation dropdown, there is a record in-house use. And this is typically used for when patrons pull items off the shelf, but they don't check them out, or items used in display. So it's Evergreen is counting these items were used, just not circulated. Mobile checkouts, you can get a monthly count of unique patrons using the app mobile checkout feature. You can get a renewal count by monthly StatCat, and then titles checked out at a library within a date range. So if you want to see the most popular titles in general. Now we're going back to the template of circulation count by shelving location, and the description says used for circulations at a selected library counted by shelving location per year and month for selected range of years. So this may not be specifically what we want, but it's a good start. So after I've selected the template, I have to go to my actions menu, and I have three options here. I can clone the template, I can create a new report, or I can open the report list. We're going to pause, and I want you all to listen very carefully, and I want you to look into my eyes. Whenever you are looking at shared templates, your only option is to clone the template. Cloning the template is going to make a copy of it so you can save it to your folder specifically. If you were to run a report from here, you're going to mess it up for everyone else that may need to use this template. So whenever you are in shared templates, no matter which template you're using from the shared template section, you're going to clone it. When you clone it, it's going to open up in a brand new display, and your template name is going to be right up here in the top corner. You can adjust this, and you'll know it's cloned because anytime you clone a template, clone a report, clone an output, it will say so in parentheses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put YA materials in that parentheses. I can also adjust the template description. And so I'm just going to say this is for Yorktown. And then before I move on, I need to tell Evergreen which template folder to save this to. And I'm going to save it to the folder that I just created with you guys, my training circulation one. Now I'm going to scroll down, and this is where some people get a little freaked out because there's a lot of information on this screen. But I want you to think about this portion of the screen in different types of sections, starting all the way over at the left. This left column here, we're underneath combined aged and active circulations. This is called your source. So this is all of the data points that we can pull from and add to our template for Evergreen to get the information that we need. All of the existing or pre-selected source items are already displayed all the way to your right in your field display order. Now, if I wanted to add more, because this is my clone of the template, I can edit it any way that I need to. I am going to select whatever's in my display fields that I need. So over to source, there's a ton of options here, and this can get pretty overwhelming. So a lot of the times when you're new to Evergreen, what I want you to do is I want you to look at what's already selected here. And it's going to be in plain language in your field display order. So in this report, when I open up the spreadsheet after it's run, these are the columns that I'm going to see. So it's going to tell me the owning library. It's going to tell me the name of the shelving location, the checkout month or year, and the circ count. If I wanted to rearrange the order, I could do so by adjusting the arrows here. And if I wanted to remove something, I could always click this little subtraction button to delete it. Now, if let's say, we're going to come back to editing more options. Next to the display fields is your filters tab. So your filters tab is when you go to run the report, you are telling Evergreen where to specifically look and pull the information from. And it's the same idea. You can remove what's here and you can add more. There is a slight difference between your display fields and your filters in that sometimes you're going to see more links, more Boolean operators, more org unit language in your filters. It's a little bit more technical because it's like the background type stuff. You don't have to stress about that. I'm going to send you guys cheat sheets to understand what all of those little parentheses mean when you're looking at filters. So the filters that are saved in this template that we can adjust or change, we can tell Evergreen, look within a specific checkout date and time. And you'll notice there's a transform and an operator. Your transform is basically how you want that data to be presented. So with your checkout date and time, you can choose specifically, I only want to know what was checked out on Mondays, or I want to know what happened in April, specific days of year, week of year. So the first week, second week, third week, the month of year, quarter, day of month, day of week, and so on. I'm going to leave this alone. Your operator is how that data works or responds or behaves together. So with a year, you could set it to equals. So I only want to know for 2025, or you could do between. So between the year 2024, 2025. When it comes to dates, I do recommend either choosing equals or between when you're first getting started. Your organizational unit ID, this is going to be the owning library. And if you're ever unsure on what these mean, Evergreen gives you breadcrumbs too. And so you can kind of get an idea of what this means. So this is organizational unit ID is your copy owning library. Your operator is in list I don't recommend switching that because this is what's going to allow you to choose your library from the drop down. And you're going to see that repeated in your shelving location filter as well. So for the sake of this example, everything looks good to me. So I'm going to save this. This is going to close out and bring me back to our template folders. So I have to go into my template folder where I just saved this template, and there it is. Now, as I get more templates in my folders, you have ways of sorting this information. So you can sort it by name alphabetically or date created. And then there's also filters where you can specifically look for things by like name. So it's like shelving count or whatever. So as your template folders grow, it can get kind of, it, it can be more complicated if you're not strict with the way you organize your naming. So I've selected my template, I'm opening my actions menu, and now my actions available to me, or I can clone this template again. So if I maybe need to make edits to this template, maybe I wasn't happy with the information that I got in my output, I am going to clone this and kind of go back to the drawing board. If I'm working in my templates folder, cloning the template is the way I edit the template. There is no edit template option. I can delete my template, but keep in mind, if you do run a report from a template, deleting the template will delete everything attached to it. So it will delete the report and the output. Move selected, so I can move this to a different subfolder if I need to. Or if I want to run the report from this, I'm going to do new report. So just like where when we were looking at the template itself, it gave us the option to rename it. We can rename it. We can give it a description. And as we scroll down, we are going to fill out those filters that we were looking at. So check out date and time. We're going to do 2024, 2025. I'm scrolling down to the organizational unit ID section. So this is where we're going to choose our libraries. So we're working with Yorktown. There's John C. Hart. Where were you? There you are. Now, your instinct might just be to select from the start. You need to open up the little caret and select the full library name. If you don't do this, if you only select John C. Hart, you're going to get an empty report. So that's why you need to open it up all the way. Allison, why do they have it set up like this? Wouldn't it make more sense to just have the name right there? Sure, but we have libraries with branches. And so in Evergreen, if your library has multiple locations, it's considered a mini library system. So Mount Pleasant, for example, they have the Mount Pleasant branch and they have the main location. So that's why we have to open up each name so we can specifically select that location. And my location ID, these are my shelving locations. So I can, if I know that I'm looking for YA materials, I can start typing that at the top, or you can scroll one by one and you can select multiple or all shelving locations available in this list. It just depends on the type of information you're looking for. Okay, so I'm going to do YA fiction and YA graphic for this example. Does that sound okay with you? Okay. All right, and then I'm clicking next. So the last step before we run the report is we have to save it to our report folder and the output folder. So I'm saving it to the one that has the same name as the template because it makes the most sense. Your output options are going to be listed in the top left. And so when you run your report, you're going to have the option to open it as a CSV, which is a form of an Excel spreadsheet. CSV is the default option because it can open within Evergreen. Your HTML output, this is your preview of the report. So you can click on the HTML output link to see if the report was successful or not. If this is a report that you want to have recur, meaning that you want this to run on its own on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis, you can turn on recurring report. When you turn this on, it's going to ask you to select a recurrence interval. And so if I want this to run once a month, I'm going to just change the days to month. I'm going to type in the number. But a tip for monthly reports, you should schedule that to run on the end of the month. So typically, because sometimes there's 30 days, sometimes there's 31 days, open up the calendar and choose the 30th of the month, because if that way you get the full snapshot. You can also adjust the time specifically too. There's an email address field, so you can enter your email and you can enter your coworkers' emails in here as well. So if you want this report to go to, let's say, the reference email, you can put that in here too. So whoever's at reference that day, when the report runs, they're going to get a link to the report to open it up. I'm just going to turn that off for now. Now, if you don't need this, to be a recurring report, you can ignore all of this and you're just going to click Save and Schedule Report. Report saved successfully, beautiful. And so I'm just going to minimize some of these. And when I want to look and see where my report is, I'm going to go to my outputs. I skip over reports because that's just where the report itself lives. The actual results are going to be what my outputs show me. So it's going to show you what's pending, so what's still loading, depending on how large a report it is. It can take quite some time, but you can always click the refresh grids, and sometimes that does speed it along. So while this is loading, I'm going to pause for questions real quick about this, okay, quote, cloning process. And I'm also just taking a look at the chats to see. So we have weeding reports, circulation of biographies over the last 5 years, a report I was asked to run, a monthly report with total number of checkouts per shelving location. I think you may be explaining it now. Okay. All right. Right. So I'm going to click on my little HTML link here just to see, do I actually have information? And I do. So I can see January 2024, YA fiction had 230 circs. And I can scroll down and compare it to January of 2025, and it was down a couple to 214. Now, if I don't want a breakdown by month or year, I can always go back to my template. And remember, if I need to edit it, I'm just going to clone it. And so let's say I need to, I want to switch the year to month, just month. But also, if I want this to be a recurring report, in this month field, if I turn on supply filter value and relative time value, let me just back up a second. I'm going to switch the operator from between to equals, because if this is going to be a recurring month, I don't want Evergreen to constantly be saying like, I want this between April and May. I want this to just look at the circulation for my YA shelving locations from the previous month. So that's why I'm switching it from between to equals. And then I'm going to turn on supply filter value, and I'm turning on relative time value. So I can set it to run for 1 month ago. And I'm just going to update that name to monthly. And I'm going to get rid of that clone because it's ugly and I don't want to look at it. Okay, so now I'm going to save it. There it is in my template folder. I'm going to run a new report from this. And let's say now I want to look at why nonfiction. And I'm just repeating the steps that I did. I'm choosing a reports folder and an output folder to save it to. If I don't do that, Evergreen won't let me run the report. I need to have a designated space for that to live. Okay. And so we're just going to take a look and save. I'm just taking a look at my notes real quick. Okay. All right. So we were asked for, Jackie, you have your hand raised?
Yes, when you said the rule about don't run a new report, clone it, but when you go to run it, you have to click off new, or what did I miss?
So you missed when you are borrowing a template from the shared folder section. So when you are first getting your template, you're getting it from the shared templates, typically in the Evergreen reports.
Right.
This is where you're cloning it because you're making a copy for it to save to yours. Once it's yours, once you've saved it to your folder, if you're running a report from it, you're going to select new report. But
Okay,
if it's
that's what I thought. Yeah.
yeah, the only time you're going to clone it from your templates is if you need to edit it. So if you need to change it up, if the bones are good, but you just need to add or remove some data fields. Okay.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. So Diana asked a circ of biographies over the last 5 years. Okay. So let's take a look. And Diana, do you have a specific shelving location for biographies?
Although they're not all there in the biography shelf location, sometimes they're in the regular nonfiction, even if they're a biography. So it's not very clean. I don't know how to
Okay.
manage that, but yeah, so I just used biography.
Okay. So actually, Diana, I'm so glad you use that as your example because that also leads me to another point of framing our expectations within the Evergreen Reporter. So the Evergreen Reporter can only give us what's what the data can only give us what's already in there. So if your items aren't being clearly labeled or linked, um, we can't tell Evergreen, look for a biography that's in a nonfiction shelving location. And a lot of the times we get questions of, I want to run a report based on genres. So I want to know how many horror items are in my teen section. Well, Evergreen is looking at what's in the MARC record to find that information. So if the genre itself isn't in the MARC record, we can't get it. You can always like send in a help desk ticket and Lindsay and I can do some deep dive digging to like try and get you a close enough representation of genres by shelving location. But like I said, if it's not in the MARC record itself, then it's just not going to be available in the reporter.
If I can just add one thing, Allison. So there is either a subject heading or a subfield biography But that's not
Yes.
the item record, but can you link those if you wanted to see, for example, how many biographies didn't end up in the big shelving location?
You could. So you could, and you would want to switch gears from the circulation folder to your collections.
Right,
So
right.
when you open up the collection subfolder, there's three options here. You have your item maintenance subcategory, you have your shelf list subcategory, and your year end. So year end is a little self-explanatory. This is what we're running in January to find the most circulated books at our library. And so we have top circulating author by year, year end circ by checkout library, and then year end circ by patron home library. So, like I said, in January, Lindsay and I get a lot of tickets of libraries asking for this, but this is available to everyone to run themselves, although Lindsay and I are always happy to help. And then your shelf list, you have two options available for you. So someone asked for a weeding report in the chat. This is probably this is most likely going to be your first stop because you have a shelf list by shelving location and then a shelf list by shelving location and call number range. So typically when you're weeding, you are weeding by sections through section. This shelf list is going to list all non-deleted items in the selected shelving location, and it's going to give you title and item details and the lifetime circ counts. So one thing I also want you to remember is anytime you see the word list in a template name, that's going to give you item information. So title, barcode, call number, author, pub date, creation date, and so on. Whereas we were just looking at counts, and counts is only going to give us the circulation count or the item count itself. So it depends on how much information you want on those items. You want to pay attention to the description and also the name. And then we have item maintenance. And so this is where a lot of our tech services friends are working out of. Because this is where we can get a list of circulation modifiers that are being used, number of claims returned, count of the items and the value of the collection. So it's looking at the count, the number of the items and the prices, deleted items. So what's been deleted, items by StatCat, items missing the price data, and then list items by item status, and the annoying thing of it just defaulting to the 10 rows. Okay. Lost and paid, missing items, pre-cat titles, unknown stat cats. All right. So okay. So I think for the biographies that also live in nonfiction but have those sub tags, I am going to go to my shelf list. I'm pausing, Diana, because you want them from the last 5 years. Do you want specific items or you just want to know the circulation count of like in general?
If it hasn't gone out in 7 years, I'm going to want the specific details so I can delete it.
Got it. Okay. So yes. So then you want a shelf list. So you get those specific details. So I'm cloning the template. I'm choosing the folder to save it to. And I'm looking at the displays, the field displays. So I have my shelving location, call number, barcode, title, author, hub year, creation date and time, the item status, circ modifier, StatCat, and then my circ counts. So branch lifetime circulation, this is how many times it's circulated at your library since it was created. Year to date is how many times it's circulated at your library since January of 2026. Consortium is how many times it's circulated throughout the system. Consortium year to date is how many times it's circulated throughout the system since January 2026. And then the consortium is the last circulation date. So this is going to pretty much have almost everything that you're looking for here. But you wanted to add the subfield, and I don't know if we can add that or not based on the source where all these data points are coming from. Item tags. Okay. So I opened up item tags because there are two different options to choose from here. And as I click on them, the all fields, the display changes because there are different options for each one that gets selected. And I am looking for where it would have that subfield. And I don't know if that is going to be available in here.
I would think it's in the subject heading.
Yes. But the cheat sheet, one of the cheat sheets I'll be sharing with you is because sometimes the names of the options here aren't always what we expect them or intuitively want them to be. And do we am I missing it? Also, if you can see it and I'm missing it, feel free to call out. But I don't want to waste too much time here. So that's okay. So we're just going to focus on biographies and within the last 5 years. So I'm just making sure we have the shelving location in to choose from a list. It's excluding anything that's been deleted. I'm going to choose the owning library. This is going to show me the stat cats for the item, the call number, label, transform between. We'll actually just get rid of that for now. And then I want last circulation. Well, that okay. We wanted within the last 5 years. So we are going to do lifetime. Lifetime. And then I'm choosing actually equals 2. Okay, we're going to see how this works. And if it doesn't work, it's good for you to see because a lot of the times you do have to go back to the drawing board many times. Diana, remind me which library you're from, please.
Somers.
Okay, thank you. So I'm opening up Somers and I'm choosing the full library name. And I want 2025. Oh, wait, you wanted the last 5 years. Oop, 2021. Six.
Allison, the filter values are always years, yes?
What's that?
Filter
Say that one more time.
values, the filter values are always years when you select years, and then month names when you do months, or just years?
In like the final output.
Yeah, when it shows you, when it gives you the blank filter values, you put in the
Oh,
year.
yeah, the blank filter value. Yeah, if you're doing that, because I do the year, but we're going to see in real time whether or not that worked. And based on how quickly that loaded for me, I don't feel too strongly that we're actually going to have information in there. And as you can see, so entering those years, that was the wrong way for me to do it. And so I have to go back to the drawing board for that. So that's why having this link here is helpful. But also, part two, yep, worked. Okay, amazing. Love that. Okay. Right, I'm just checking. Can a total number of times be run? When you say a total number of times, what does that mean? Jackie.
Um, are you reading my chat question or what I said before?
Your chat question.
My chat question. Oh boy, I gotta go back now. No,
Okay.
right, okay, what I didn't, I was typing too fast. I meant total number of items. Can you
Oh, total
run,
number of,
yeah,
yes. Yes, total number of items, absolutely, we can get that. And so this is a perfect example of looking for something that already exists and then changing it again to fit how we need it. So in the item maintenance, I have my count items and value of collection by shelving location. And so I'm going to make a clone of this. And I'm just going to delete the value because I don't care about the price. I'm going to scroll down and just remove the price from my display. I'm going to just take a quick peek at my filters available here. So, perfect. I'm going to save that. Okay, so we're doing biography and we're doing Somers. And I'm going to next. And da da da. Da da da. Okay. All right. And let's see how long that takes to load. Okay. All right. Well, that is loading. We were asked about weeding reports. So we're going back to the shelf list section and we're going to select the shelf list by shelving location. And again, we're going to clone that, but I'm going to rename that. And I'm going to retitle it weeding. I'm going to save it. All right. Okay. And I want to take a look and I want to see how my large print. Where are you, large print? There you are. My large print sections are doing. And I'm going to use Warner as my example. And we're going to see how that goes. All right. Okay, so our number of items by shelving location is finished. And so I can see you have 1,273 biographies at Somers. So just by removing that price column, we also get just that plain old item count by shelving location there too. Okay, and weeding is finished. It's done cooking. And so I can see from the HTML that this worked. And so now I want to go back and I want to open it as an Excel, as a spreadsheet. And did that download? My laptop freezes when I'm not connected to the network and downloading stuff. So you might have to just wait a second. Okay. All right. So I have a designated reports folder in my Evergreen folder. And you can see all of the lovely libraries that I've run reports for. And how I typically name my reports is if I'm running them for libraries, I include the library 3-digit code. But I get very specific with what this report was. So I'm just gonna say this is for Warner reading large print. And I'm just going to use the online version. Why aren't you loading? There you go. Okay. Sorry for how long this takes. But it just goes to show just because you work in IT doesn't mean things work faster or easier for you either. So, in case you guys were wondering. Okay, there's my report. Gonna open that up. And so when I open my output up into a spreadsheet, you can see that obviously there's some tweaking and minor editing that I need to do to just make this readable for myself and for anyone else that I'm going to be sharing this with. So I'm going to adjust the column widths, but I also, if I have a barcode field, I'm always going to have to adjust that too. And so I'm just going to select the barcode column and I'm going to go over to this general dropdown, switch it to number, and then just get rid of those decimal placements. Okay. So because this is a weeding report, I also want to sort this. And typically I want to know like what hasn't been going out. So I'm going to open up my sort and filter and select custom sort after highlighting everything in my spreadsheet, making sure that my data has headers is turned on. And then I'm going to sort by all of those circ count options. There we go. Okay. All right. And as I scroll down, I can see. So that's how I would handle a weeding report by shelving location. And sorry, who asked for that? Okay, Catherine, does that make sense to run it that way? Okay, I'm going to take the silence as yes. Yes, yay. Okay, great. All right, so we spent quite some time looking at templates and cloning the templates, but I also want to just talk about the reports because we skipped over that reports folder. So the reports are going to live here and they are going to, you do have some columns that you can customize. It's just not a whole ton of options there. But what's nice about this is you can see if you had set it up to be a recurring report or not, and you can see what that recurrence interval is. If you needed to edit the report itself, I want to show you the difference between editing a report versus what it looked like when we edited the template. So your actions are you can clone the report or you can edit the report. So cloning the report is basically it's almost identical to editing it, to be completely honest. But when you clone the report, I will say I've noticed if you change the name, it will keep the new name will stick to the clone. Whereas if you edit the report, at least in the last couple of days, I don't know if it's a bug, the name just applies to like everything, all of the outputs that you run from it. And if that confuses you and you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. So we are editing this report, so I can change the time frame. And if I remember correctly, this did work. Okay. I can change the library or I can change the shelving locations. So if I wanted to, let's say, I did all the counts for, the teen section. Now it's time to take a look at children's. I could absolutely do that. I don't have to recreate the wheel and do it with a brand new template. Going back. Okay. Okay. We're at, what's going on? Why did we get all those options, but we're not getting them now? Okay. And then edit, as you can see, I can only adjust, it's actually, no, it's the same. It's just like I said, the naming sometimes is going to get a little confusing. So like if you are doing the monthly circ counts for shelving location, you don't necessarily have to run it from the template each and every time. You can always go back and just rerun a report and just switch those filters. All right. Deleting templates. All right. So now we're just going to switch back to the PowerPoint. And in this handout I'm giving you, it does give you a breakdown of how to clone your templates, how to run the report, and how to view your outputs. I also have like breadcrumbs for the most commonly requested types of reports and how to find them, and like a breakdown of what they will give you. And so for circulation, there's quite a few. For patrons, for bills and fines, and for item maintenance. Also, where to find help. So from the Evergreen homepage, in the Get Help and Information section, there's a link to the Evergreen documentation. How many of you have ever poked around in here? How many have never done it? Okay. So this Evergreen documentation, this is been created by the Evergreen community. So every library system throughout the world that uses Evergreen as their ILS has contributed to this documentation. And this is the foundation of what a lot of the IT Wiki documentation and help guides is based off of. In the left-hand corner is your table of contents. You also have a search bar, so you can search for specific topics. But and a lot of it is a little kind of, uh, in the weeds of it all. You don't really need to know unless you're interested in software installation. But as you scroll down, you have the different Evergreen categories. So local admin, acquisitions, cataloging, all of that. But the reports page is going to also give you a pretty good breakdown of how the reporter operates and works. And so a lot of the information that I'm sharing with you is pulled directly from here. So if you ever do have time and you're trying to like get a little bit more of a deeper explanation on what a transform versus an operator is, this is a really good place to poke around and take a peek at. We also do have documentation on the IT Wiki. Just a heads up, the graphics and some of the phrasing is still from what the reporter used to look like. I think we're at 2 years now since we've had the upgrade where it changed the display. And so what we are looking at now is so different from what we were used to when we first got onto Evergreen that everyone just kind of went, what? So the information itself is still good. It's just some of the graphics need to be updated. And then also, if you are ever just stuck or you don't have time or you are overwhelmed and stressed out and you don't know where to begin, that's where Lindsay and I are available for you. So you can always submit a help desk ticket and to support at just by emailing support@wlsmail.org. I don't recommend emailing us directly because you'll probably just get buried in our inboxes. But if you submit a help desk ticket to the IT help desk portal, there's multiple eyes on it. So that way you guys just don't kind of get lost in our weeds of it all. Yeah, a couple nevers. I had a feeling. All right, so I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. And I just kind of want to see how we feel. How many are completely overwhelmed? Okay, a couple, a couple. Yeah, I said you guys would feel overwhelmed and intimidated by it. Because it is visually, it's a lot to look at, but it's really, if you reframe your thinking to it's just places to click around, it might make it a little bit more digestible. Also, hopefully, with the cheat sheets that I'm going to be sending all of you with the clear breadcrumbs of where to go, it will also kind of help put things into perspective. It's a different experience of watching somebody whip their way through it versus you taking your time and methodically going through it. I am also available to do one-on-one screen sharing sessions with you guys. So if you want to run reports or set up certain templates and you just want me to kind of walk you through the steps or give tips on which, filters to use, that is something that we can always arrange for and schedule. And then is anyone feeling a little bit more comfortable or confident in running reports? Okay, great. We love that. Okay. Do we have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So we have a shelving location for manga. Will there ever be that as an option? Because I know there's YA graphic, but our collection is getting so large that I'd, love to be able to weed it a little better.
Um, I I can't say no and I can't say yes. Have you ever asked for it to be created?
Yeah, about a year or so ago, I think I sent in a ticket.
Okay. When it comes to creating shelving locations, typically we avoid requests that would be like location specific. However, when it comes to manga, I know that that is just a growing shelving location for a lot of libraries. Um, and they do kind of fall under graphic novel, but they could technically be separated. I would say maybe let's table that and talk about it at one of the circulation committee meetings or the tech services interest group meetings. And just if there's enough interest in it, maybe Lindsay can create one.
That would be great.
Yeah, no, I bet. Yeah, sure. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Requ requests? Okay. Well, in that case, I think we are going to be able to end a little bit early today. I will, like, as I mentioned at the start of this, I'm going to be sending this recording out to everybody, as well as some help guides and cheat sheets. And also just the reminder that Lindsay and I are available through the help desk for any questions or help that you might need with reports. Um, I know that there are some people that were just kind of thrown into a role and then told to run a report and get data on some of this. And it's like, what? So we don't want anybody to feel isolated or thrown to the wolves. So we're always available to help. And in that note, I'm going to stop recording and I'm going to wish you all to have a very nice rest of your day and week. And I hope